Hello and welcome to another episode of Put Me in Coach on episode 36, and this is the Diamondbacks versus Pirates Game 3. Jose Fernandez is playing third base, Jorge Barosa played left field and center field, James McCain as catcher, and then the rest is kind of the same. And stuff. There were some good hits and stuff. I think we're struggling in offense right now and stuff, mostly the big three and stuff. Fortunately enough, Corbin Carroll did pretty good. He went 2 for 4 and stuff, but the rest, it's here and there, and we're making mistakes a lot and stuff, and we're not really putting a lot of contact on the ball and stuff. And we're pretty much giving up at this point and stuff. So it's not good to see the offense doing poorly at this time and stuff. And then also enough, Gabe Marino came in to hit for James McCain, and he also played catcher in the top of the eighth and stuff. And then Tim Towell came in to hit for Alec Thomas, I believe, and stuff. So, and then in the ninth inning, he went to play left field and stuff. Because of Jorge Barosa was playing left field, so Tim Towell came in to play left field, and then later on, that's why enough you see Barosa playing center field and stuff, because he switched, went to center field instead in the ninth inning and stuff. And then Nolan Arenado also came in to pitch hit, and then they changed him to be as DH for Adrian Del Casio. So that's another biggest thing of what they did and stuff. And I already told you who came in the eighth and who came in the ninth as well. So that's that and stuff. Pitching wise of enough, Zach Gallen starting pitching today and stuff. He did okay and stuff. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, struck out 5, walked once, and gave up 4 runs and stuff. So it's here and there and stuff. The 4 runs is not good and stuff. We want to have that less. But overall enough to just have a very lower score, and also it was a very close game as well of the rest of the game. So that's some ways positive, some ways negative. It's hard really to tell at this point and stuff. The Pirates starting pitcher, Mitch Keller. I think I said it yesterday enough of Brad Keller, so I got it wrong and stuff. So I got Keller right. I knew his last name and stuff, but it was Mitch Keller instead. He did also good as well. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, struck out 3, walked 2, and then gave up 2 runs and stuff. So I would definitely say he did better than Gallen today and stuff, because obviously enough of he didn't give up so much runs and stuff. Also didn't give up hits as well and stuff, but he did much less strikeouts and more walks than Gallen and stuff, and he won more innings as well than Gallen. So I would give Keller a little bit upgrade over Gallen today and stuff, just a little bit and stuff, not too much and stuff, but overall great performance on both side of the plate. And then off the bullpen for the Diamondbacks, Brandon Garcia, Ryan Thompson, and Paul Sewald. And stuff. Fortunately enough, Paul Sewald only came in the ninth. Fortunately, we were down some scores and stuff, but that's just what Ravello wants to put him in the ninth inning when we were down and stuff. And fortunately enough for bullpen, still no runs and stuff. So they're pretty solid from there and stuff. So now we're going to talk about scoring and stuff. And I'm honestly enough, I'm going to talk about all of them and stuff. Deja vu for Brandon Lau. solo home run to make it 1-0 on top of the first. And fortunately enough, what happened? Got the first batter out, second batter, home run. It's just like, this is nuts. Fortunately enough, he has 10 home runs right now and stuff. I like Brandon Lau. He's a home run hitter. He's very good defense player at second base and stuff. I liked him when he was on the Rays and stuff. It's huge enough of now Brandon Lau is not on the Pirates and stuff, especially enough of what they have at this time right now and stuff with big players and stuff. Pirates look like a team can get to the playoffs and stuff. Just a little bit. I would say like a wild card spot and stuff, but depends enough if they can perform in a way and stuff. And fortunately enough, they went hot till the time of when they got Connor Griffin and stuff. But fortunately enough, they kind of here and there. They're down and low. They're in between of the 500 group of the team and stuff. So it's huge enough of they have Brandon Lau and stuff, and he's like pretty much the one did the most damage than yesterday and stuff. So it's crazy enough of he just did it again and then off of Gallon and stuff. But that's good for him and stuff. Adrian Del Castillo hit a RBI single to tie the game up, bottom of the first. Corbin Carroll hit a solo home run to take the lead of 2-1, bottom of the third. And then Ryan O'Hearn hit a RBI single to tie the game up in the top of the fifth. And then Spencer Horwitz hit a RBI single to take the lead 3-2, top of the fifth. And then Joey Bart also hit a solo home run to make it 4-2, top of the sixth, and that is the final score. Diamondbacks lost 2-4, and the record right now for the Diamondbacks is 17-19. So we're 2 below 500 now. So unfortunately, that's not good for us, for the Diamondbacks and stuff. Progress. We got getting our offense on the board and stuff. Marte 0 for 4. Like, this is pretty insane. I don't know. He's putting contact. Like, he is getting contact and stuff. It's just, I don't know. He's guessing to the play or whatever and stuff. I just thinking he's not getting on top of the ball and raging that out and stuff because he's getting some pop-ups and stuff, and we don't want to see that and stuff because there was one at bat. The ball totally hit right on the top of the bat, and then it went straight up. And fortunately enough, one of the infielders, I would say Brandon Lau, actually caught it and stuff. That's typical of that. First baseman, second base, it was around that range of the baseball field and stuff, and they just easily caught it because it's a pop up. So that's not really a good sign for a big player on this team and stuff. I know Carroll did a couple things here and there and stuff with the solo home run and a couple base hits and stuff. Even Perdomo. Only thing, Perdomo is 0 for 2 because he's been walking. So it's a good sign of him just getting on base and stuff. De Calcio hit a base hit. Vargas got a base hit. Jose Fernandez is a little bit here and there and stuff. He went 0 for 3. Basically, he walked probably once and stuff. Same thing with Barossa, just kind of got walked. Jason McCain got a base hit, and then Alec Thomas also got some walks here and there. That's why he's 0 for 2 and stuff. And then, fortunately enough, the people came in to pitch hit and stuff didn't do anything as well because they struck out or they ground out. So it's just those are just little things in there. Hopefully enough they watch their homework and learn their homework in a way where enough of let's get back into offense, because I think that's the most biggest thing right now and stuff. Like, I understand enough for pitching was the most struggle at this point because we were giving up so much runs away in the beginning of the game and stuff. And so now it looks like the pitching is doing a lot better than before and stuff. And I understand enough of, Gallon gave up 4 runs today and stuff, but we also got 2 runs and we could have these opportunities to get back into the game. Fortunately enough for the bullpen to not let that run away and stuff later on and stuff. So fortunately enough, this is a good opportunity to strike back and snake alive. Get the bat going at the very end and stuff. They used to do that last year, a little bit here and there and stuff, but not too much. But that's what we like to see in a way and stuff. I think that's the most biggest thing right now is not going the way we wanted and stuff. It is the offense. And I shouldn't keep poking Ryan Marte all the time. He's just not getting anything at this point and stuff. He's one of our superstars on this team and stuff. And fortunately enough of getting so much paid just to be on this team and getting a huge contract and stuff. And there could be a thing about of enough of the trade thing. He was getting rumored from last year and maybe of this season as well. I have a feeling Marte doesn't want to get traded. Who knows and stuff. I think he just likes this clubhouse and this organization for the Diamondbacks and stuff. Obviously the fans like him because he's like one of our superstars and stuff. He was an all-star last year. So you gotta just understand enough of the players. I get it, they're gonna be tough and stuff, but if you're not doing your job or anything and stuff, you're gonna get here and there conversations about hey, come on, like, let's get step in the play, let's get some base hits, let's win some games here and there and stuff, just politely in a way and stuff. You don't have to drag him around and stuff in sentences like, hey, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, I thought you were better than this. But we shouldn't basically say that, because Marte is one of the best second baseman player out there, and currently from yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, last year I meant to say and stuff. So like, I get it and stuff. The whole team needs to come alive and stuff. Just not Marte. Marte is the most biggest one we've been talking about and stuff. But the whole team needs to and stuff. And I wouldn't say anything wrong about pitching and stuff. I think Gallon did his best and stuff. Just to label enough of 4 runs and stuff. The offense did a little bit here and there and stuff, but it just wasn't too much of enough, and unfortunately enough for us to lose another series and stuff. This is kind of like do or die situation and stuff. Like, we went big for game 1 and stuff, and then game 2 because of Paul Skeen's situation and stuff. So for this enough of both teams were going big. Fortunately enough, it kind of split in half of the score of 2-4 and stuff. So it's a close game and stuff. This was a great series overall and stuff. And fortunately enough, like, I understand we should be maybe better over the Pirates overall and stuff. But honestly enough, they really have good players on that side as well. And Mitch Keller was also a really good pitcher as well. He was an all-star in 2023 and stuff. So just got to understand enough of that. Yeah, we had our ace, and fortunately enough, he should do better and stuff. But that's Gallon. He's gonna struggle here and there and stuff. You never know what you're gonna get from him and stuff. And that's where enough it's just struggle from Gallon, in a way, in my head and stuff. That's where enough of like my dad gets kind of a little pissed off. Where enough of just like, why Gallon cannot pitch? He's our ace. Come on and stuff. Like, I get it. So that's pretty much of that. The funny thing is, enough of what I talked about yesterday is about Bubba Chandler and stuff, because the camera showed enough of somebody else, was not Bubba Chandler. And to me, enough, because yesterday podcast, I basically says like, does Bubba Chandler has a mustache? Not at this time and stuff. And I don't even know he had one before whatever and stuff. But somehow enough, Bubba Chandler did had a mustache before. Just not now. Not now. Currently enough of in game one where Bubba Chandler was starting pitching for the Pirates and stuff, he had no mustache. But I guess he had one before, and the person they were showing, that was not Bubba Chandler. I thinking they were showing Riley Cook, I think that was his name, and stuff. So it was surprising enough of why the the camera was on this person, and unfortunately the name of Bubba Chandler came out when they were focusing on Riley Cook. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. Like, bro, like, that's not Bubba Chandler. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, those are the little things here and there. Like, I was like, it was the Diamondbacks announcers were saying. I don't know what they were saying when they were zooming on Riley Cook, whatever and stuff. But it's basically of that. And unfortunately enough, how I know that, because Riley Cook, didn't play yesterday, but he played today. So that was another thing. Enough of like, who is this? Who? So that's pretty much of that. We are playing the Mets tomorrow. This is going to be the second time, because fortunately enough, we've been playing like new teams and stuff at this point. So this is our like second time seeing the Mets and stuff, and we're gonna see other teams and stuff. Like, there's times where we're gonna play the Rockies the first time, and then later on we're gonna play somebody else, and then play the Rockies back or whatever and stuff. So it's gonna be all over the place at this point, because we're getting very close of the half of the first half of the point of the season of baseball in this regular season. So there's gonna be teams enough if we actually face each other and stuff at this point enough. So I have a feeling we might play every team this year and stuff. Depends and stuff, but at this point enough, we're going to a team enough where we already face off and stuff to play like a second series again and stuff. So that was the Mets. So that's tomorrow. So hopefully enough. I know the Mets are kind of struggling right now. They're doing a little bit better overall and stuff, but they don't have a better record than the Diamondbacks and stuff. So hopefully enough, we can give some a little advantage over them, because just doesn't look good for the Mets at this point and stuff. Who knows? Maybe they can destroy my Diamondbacks. Who knows? And stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.